What's up, Taiwan? Good evening. I'm Liao with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwanese activist Minza has spoken out following his release from a Chinese prison. In a joint statement with his wife posted on Facebook, he thanked human rights activists and politicians across the globe for their support. It was Li's first public remarks after his 5-year imprisonment in China. The NGO worker from Taipei landed at Taiyuan International Airport on Friday morning. He is now in quarantine. Li compared quarantine to the isolation of prison, but said he was thankful that he is surrounded by love instead of horror. The activist was sentenced for subverting state power. Prior to his detention, he managed a fund for families of political prisoners in China. Right now, there are 4 other Taiwanese citizens whose whereabouts are unknown. China has accused all 4 of espionage. For more on Li's case and political persecutions in China, our reporter Ryan Ho-Kilpatrick spoke to Human Rights Watch senior China researcher Ya-Qiu Wang.
Minza was sentenced to 5 years in prison for subversion of state power. This is a crime that often leveled against the Chinese government's critics, whether they're journalists, writers, human rights lawyers. And the reason to sentence Minza to 5 years was related to the democratic activities he had done.
This is good news for Li, his loved ones, and well-wishers in Taiwan and around the world. But really, what is the state of political detentions in China? How common is it, and how many more people are still in a situation like his?
Numerous human rights lawyers, writers, activists have gone to jail for many years for doing completely peaceful activities. Some just, write some articles criticizing Beijing's human rights abuses. Some just, represent people in the court, people who were persecuted for religious beliefs and other issues. And, those are numerous people. We don't know the number. Most of them are Chinese citizens, and some are, foreign citizens like Minza. The human rights situation in China overall has gone much worse and worse since Xi Jinping took in power.
6 United States senators conveyed Washington's support for Taiwan in a meeting with President Tsai in Taipei on Friday. Beijing has warned against the visit, saying the 2 sides are going down a dangerous path. The 24-hour trip to Taiwan is part of a regional tour that includes stops in Australia and Japan for security talks. James Chater has the details.
We will stand by you. Those are the words of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham as a delegation of 6 senior U.S. lawmakers met with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen.
America has been politically divided, but I want you to know when it comes to Taiwan, we're united.
The U.S. politicians added they were convinced the U.S. would stand by Taiwan in the event of Chinese provocation. Beijing claims Taiwan as part of its own territory.
To abandon Taiwan would be to abandon democracy and freedom.
Taiwan's president said the visit demonstrated the rock-solid relationship between the 2 sides, at a time when all eyes are on the conflict in Eastern Europe.
俄国入侵乌克兰的事件也显示，民主国家应该强化结盟的力量，共同防御威权国家对于区域和平的干扰以及威胁。
The delegates' visit comes shortly after U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called off a trip to Taiwan after testing positive for COVID. She would have been the most senior U.S. official in office to visit Taiwan in decades. Her proposed trip faced backlash from China, and Beijing's response to the 6 lawmakers' visit was no different.
美方应恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定，停止美台官方往来，不要在危险的道路上越走越远。
Robert Menendez, chair of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said Beijing's outrage did little to dissuade the lawmakers.
We understand that here in Taiwan, here in this region, this is where the future is. The question before us is not a choice between the United States and China. It's a choice between what worlds do we want to live in.
Following their 24-hour Taipei stop, the US lawmakers head to Tokyo to continue security talks on the region. Chris Marr and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Our reporter James Chater spoke to Huang Kuibo at Taiwan's National Tsai University for more on the significance of this visit.
I think it's been a long tradition of the U.S. Congress showing support for Taiwan when Taiwan is facing a rise in mainland China. So these visits made by U.S. Congress, again, demonstrate a great endorsement of Taiwan's robust democracy and Taiwan's robust society against a rise in mainland China. Also, I think the U.S. Congress lawmakers would like to know the preparation of Taiwan for the possible threats imposed by the Beijing authorities.
We had the news recently of a potential visit of Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan. Of course, that had to be delayed because of her contracting COVID. How does this visit kind of size up to the potential visit of Nancy Pelosi soon? And do you think the US lawmakers that are currently in Taiwan will be helping lay the groundwork for Pelosi's visit?
I have to point out that the salience of Nancy Pelosi is higher than this current delegation in Taipei. So I would assume that maybe the Beijing authorities would have a vehement opposition of Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. But I also think as long as these impressions brought back by these U.S. lawmakers to Washington, D.C. Can be heard and seen by others in the States, I think that would be of great help for further Taiwan-U.S. people-to-people or even official-to-official interactions.
Taiwan has announced new rules that will cut the number of COVID-19 patients in hospitals. It's also drawn up plans to get millions of rapid test kits to places where they are needed most. There has been a record number of COVID cases in Taiwan in the past few weeks. The country recorded nearly 1,300 new cases on Friday. It's the first time daily infection numbers have surpassed 1,000. John Van Trieste has more.
Taiwanese hospitals have stopped admitting most COVID patients. From Thursday, they're only taking those 70 and older, those at least 36 weeks pregnant, those needing dialysis, and those with moderate or severe symptoms. So far, 99% of COVID cases in Taiwan are mild. But with case numbers expected to rise, the move will free up beds for the most vulnerable. Beds aren't the only issue, though. Pharmacists say there just aren't enough test kits to go around.
供应商他现在除了要供给这些零售的业者以外，还要再准备供给政府以提供像快筛国家队以及一些公费的乐区的一个发放的使用，所以的确现在要交货上是有点困难的。
The government is working to end this shortage, and to make sure it succeeds, it's bringing in the military.
在今天启动了征用快筛剂，特别要感谢国军弟兄再一次的投入人力帮忙。我们现在希望能够很快的达到每个月生产4000万剂的目标。
New rules mean that clinics and infection hotspots will have priority for getting these tests. Thursday also saw Health Minister Chen Shizhong start a week-long period of self-health management. That's after a reporter who'd been at one of his press conferences earlier in the day tested positive for COVID. Chen was at a safe social distance from the reporter and was wearing a mask, but he's expected to take a rapid test as a precaution if no symptoms appear in 2 days. Patrick Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
2 pangolins from Taipei Zoo have arrived in Prague after a long-awaited journey. The zoo has sent the pair, a male called Guobao and a female named Renhou Tang, to Prague Zoo as a loan for a breeding program. They are expected to be ready to greet visitors in May after they adjust to their new home. The loan of the endangered scaly mammals was arranged after Taipei and the Czech capital became sister cities in 2020. At the time, Prague's mayor visited Taipei Zoo and met with the 2 pangolins. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. I'm Leslie Liao. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, meat in space. A Turkish restaurant sent a kebab almost all the way into space to mark the 61st anniversary of the first human spaceflight. Take care and see you next time.